about to get into this. So this one we're gonna be talking about fortifications, right? So when you're doing your timeline, when you're looking at the history, the real history of how everything went, uh, finding out that the people was actually so-called black people, right? Who we know to be black or whatever like that, Negroes. That's what the Indians was. Okay, so go up here and look at some fortifications. First thing we want to look at is, first thing I want to show you is this. Mm, okay, so in this book, it's explaining about, it's telling the story about when DeSoto went through Alabama and Florida and all that. Okay, in the 1500s, 1540 right there. All right. So, mm, all right, mm, okay, right here it says, it's up close. Right here, it says the town was surrounded by a wall composed of two rows of posts driven deep in the ground. The two rows, that means one behind the other one. So it wasn't just like a wall, it was a whole two walls, two rows of posts, right? Driven deep in the ground with poles laid horizontally between them. The inner and outside of the framework neatly stuccoed with clay and straw. Portholes were left at proper distances, forming a defense as high as a lance. It says such was the character of the Indian fortifications from this place. Hmm, the fortifications. Back back in the 1500s. It says the town of Pieche was strongly fortified. See, strongly fortified town. And so this one says they all fronted a large public square. They were encompassed by a high wall made of immense trunks of trees set deep in the ground and close together, strengthened with cross timbers and interwoven with large vines. A thick mud plaster resembling handsome masonry concealed the woodwork, while portholes were abundant, together with towers capable of containing 8 men each at the distance of 50 paces apart. The high wall. Okay, let's go over to this other book. That was History of Alabama, put out in 1851 by Albert J. Pickett. Now this is another book. It's and Footsteps of Vanished Races, right? Talking about the Indians. But basically, I wanted to point out that um, is this? Oh, this is another one. Let's see, right here. Okay. It says, although nearly all accounts of the expeditions of the early explorers of the continent of North America contain notes of striking memorials, which were met with in their journeys, such as mounds, embankments, fortifications, and the like. See, this is another book called Footsteps of Vanished Races, right? It says that the early explorers, seen the mounds, embankments, and fortifications. Okay, that's another book. So you got History of Alabama, Footsteps of Vanished Races. Now look right here. um, it also says, the place was heavily populated, right? It says uncivilized and numbering a large population. Uncivilized. That can't be true, but you got to read between the lines on this stuff. Um, hmm, See, it says there were also extensive settlements in the valleys of East Tennessee, northern Georgia, in the lower valley of the Cumberland, in southern Kentucky, southern Illinois, and perhaps other sections. But, hmm, oh, this one says, although essentially primitive and Indian in their characteristics. See how they talk? Although essentially primitive and Indian in their characteristics. See, Indians have their own characteristics. The remains of the mound builders or fort builders. See, fort builders, see, belong to a more advanced type of North American Indians. No, in that book, there's, see this fort right here. This is in up by Jacksonville. in Florida. And all them Seminole Wars was going on. Them Indians was fighting Andrew Jackson and all them United States troops. This is the fort they made. The Indians made this. Now they put a Spanish European name on it, say he built it, whatever, right? See how it's made? It reminds me of like a ninja star or something, but see the square in the middle with the four leads. Now this is an artifact from the mound in Tennessee. See this? Yeah, it's four things here. It's just like that fortification in Florida, right here. Well, that was the mode of art. See, so that's why it's shaped like that. And they try to say it's some European built it. No, no way. Fortifications. Now, this one is something I found. It says Southeast Indian settlement patterns and housing, right? See, see how it has you can see these little so-called Indians down here with the bows and their arrows. And then the little huts, but of course they were different looking than that. They had like mounds. See the wall though? Once again, it would be doubled up. This is just something they drew up. But so it says right here, Natchez experienced an enormous influx in its population following the conclusion of the Civil War, right? With the vast majority of the new inhabitants being former slaves. In response, the local people built an encampment at Devil's Punch Bowl and rounded up all of the black people and forced them to enter. Once they were there, they walled off the area and refused to let them out. Now, this is telling me that uh, they the Natchez Indians, right there on the border of Louisiana and Mississippi, stayed inside their mound village walls, right? Palisade walls. And basically, uh, they said they starved them to death and all this stuff like that. So I'm just showing you the Palisade, the that right there. You know, let's go. Hmm. There was a part in this book where it talks about the fortifications, but we don't need to just worry about all that. Let's read this thing right here. This was in, hold on, let me grab the book real quick. Okay, so this This is in a book called A Guide to America's Greatest Historical Places, written by the editors of American Heritage magazine, right? So this is talking about a historic place. So it says Vicksburg National Military Park, adjoining Vicksburg. Okay. It says this park was the scene of the siege of Vicksburg in 1863, the decisive Civil War campaign in the West that gave the Union control of the Mississippi River and divided the Confederacy in two. Now, I'm gonna stop right there and say, if you go and look, the United States was fighting the Indians for a long time. It's from the 1700s. I mean, from the time they became the United States, from being the British-owned 13 colonies, they was fighting the Indians pretty much. So a lot of the Indians banded together. You had confederacies, the Powhatan Confederacy, the Algonquin or Iroquois, something like that. Uh, this, that, Confederacy. You'd have Indian confederacies of five or six, four, five, six tribes, and with that word Confederacy at the back of it. So the Indians were Confederates, right? Confederacy. So uh, pretty much the Southern military, United States military, is calling themselves Confederacy is a weird thing because they had been warring with them for so long. And you turn around and call yourself what they call them theirself. That don't equate. That don't sound like something that they would do. But moving on, unless it was a reason, a reason behind doing that, which there was, right? But look, it says strategically situated on high bluffs overlooking the Mississippi. Vicksburg. See that? Strategically situated on high bluffs. That's that's sound like an Indian tactic. They build mounds and stuff, and build the palisades walls, then build mounds behind them so they could look over them walls, maybe shoot arrows, things like that, even rifles. Uh, Pittsburgh with its almost impregnable defenses. Okay, with its almost impregnable defenses, what's known as the Gibraltar of the Confederacy, and was the key link in a chain of Confederate fortifications extending from Louisville, Kentucky to New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, this was on the Mississippi River. Remember that. Okay. It says its capture was considered essential to the Union after federal attempts to seize Vicksburg by land. An amphibious assault failed in 1862. Just a second. My little son's waking up. Okay, so it says assault failed in 1862. See, they was failing. They was failing. General Ulysses S. Grant on May 18, 1863, launched a campaign to take the stronghold by siege. Siege stronghold. After 47 days, the beleaguered city, defended by Confederates under General John C. Pemberton. Okay, surrounded on July 4th. Surrendered on July 4th. Today, the remains of nine major Confederate forts, nine major Confederate forts, 13 Union approaches, miles of breastworks, gun emplacements and rifle pits, as well as 1,600 monuments marking the position of the armies, are preserved. 1,600 monuments marking the position of the armies are preserved. About 2 miles north of town is the Vicksburg National Cemetery, where 17,912 soldiers are buried. So, see, Confederate fortifications, 1863. That's a deep thing right there. That's to be definitely to be looked at. So, because if you got in the 1500s, you got encompassed by a high wall made of immense trunks of trees set deep in the ground and close together, strengthened by cross timbers and interwoven with large vines, a thick mud plaster resembling handsome masonry. This is in the 1540s. Okay, this is almost 500 years ago. You understand me? They was doing that. So just a second. So okay, so all right. So yeah, so high wall. Okay, we're gonna switch gears on this. We're gonna go over to stripes. Now we're gonna get on these stripes because you know that thing that all these people want. They want stripes. You know, out here in the hood, they want to get stripes off their own people. Right? Coincidentally, back in the day when the jails first started or whatnot, they had what stripes, right? They had stripes, big black stripes on their clothes, right? The what they call them, jailbirds. The jailbirds, right? Think about it, the jailbirds. They had stripes. Yeah. So this is see these stripes on these Indians. See this short hair, a little tail maybe back there. See the crowns, bow. This is in America. Okay. See the stripes. Okay. So let me do one thing. Go over here. Okay. Alrighty. So let's look. Let's see. Okay. So let's look at this dude right here. See this dude? See the stripes on this Indian warrior right here? See these stripes all over? This is an artifact from the Oklahoma Arkansas border, right? So see the stripes, stripes, see, stripes. I'll show you that. And then you got this image here, stripes, right? That's another book. I believe it's the 1671 book, America, written by John Ogilvy. Look at the face here, short hair. I think it's a woman, maybe. I don't know, but okay. So yeah, showed you this before. Believe it was from a Britain uh, newspaper. Yeah. Mama. Okay, so it says so, this one says striped shirts, right? The Blackamoors, the American native darkies, it says the Yankee Blackamoors. It says he will observe them in their hours of leisure when attired in their unnational, let's see, costume consisting of white duck breeches, banjos, and striped shirts with high collars. Okay, striped shirts. That was their attire, right? Okay. This is from the book Alabama from the times in the 1500s. It says, it will be remembered that the Alabamas upon the Yazoo painted in stripes of white, yellow, black, and red, and seemed as though they were dressed in hose and doublets. Lofty plumaces of feathers of the eagle and other noted birds adorned the heads of the warriors. At the Battle of Vitachuco in Middle Florida, 10,000 warriors appeared in this magnificent native headdress. Okay, so just wanted to show you them stripes. You can correlate them to the stripes of the so many people. I mean, why would they put stripes on the jailbirds? You understand? So that's a deep thing I seen. It also said, like, let's see, in that same book, okay, okay, it says this one on DeSoto, seated upon a cushion and riding in a chair supported upon the shoulders of four of his chief men. 1,000, lay down, Papa, lay down. 1,000 warriors, tall, active, sprightly, and admirably proportioned, with large plumages of various colors on their heads, followed him, marching in regular order. His dress consisted of a splendid mantle of marten skins thrown gracefully over his shoulder, while his head was adorned with a diadem of brilliant feathers. Round his many Indians raised their voices in song, and others made music upon flutes. See, instruments, singing, 1500s by tall, admirably proportioned Indians. Okay. Also said that he had the mantle of marten skins thrown gracefully over his shoulder. Remember that. That's in Alabama. I can show you other images of other Indians from other places with the skins across the shoulder. Hmm. Hmm. And it said that the chief made John Ortiz keeper of the temple, situated in a lonely forest in the outskirts of the town. In this temple was deposited dead Indians contained in wooden boxes, the lids of which, having no hinges, were kept down with weights. The bodies and bones were sometimes carried off by panthers and wolves. Uh, panthers and wolves. Okay. So yeah, that's all I wanted to show y'all is the stripes. How the Indians always had the stripes, and how somehow uh, they have stripes as well, right? They're military uh, lieutenants and high-ranking members of the military have these stripes, right? Different stripes depict their rank, right? So where did they get that from? Where did they get the stripes from? What made them put stripes on the jailbird's uniform, right? Think about it. I just showed you artifacts, right? Showed you artifacts, stripes, book, stripes, another book, stripes, this striped shirt. So, all right, I'll let y'all get on about y'all day. Have a blessed one. Peace.